Welcome to Leadership, the Secret Sauce, the podcast where we talk to extraordinary coaches and leaders to dive into the realms of leadership and coaching. We're your hosts, Dave Lipsky and Matt Dodson. So let's jump in with another guest and find out their answer to the question, what is your secret sauce? All right, welcome. Before we dive in, a special thank you to our sponsor, Character Matters Coaching and Consulting. At Character Matters, we believe leadership isn't just about results, it's about who you are while you're achieving them. Whether you're facing career transitions, building stronger teams, or navigating personal growth, we help leaders unlock clarity, strengthen resilience, and lead with authenticity. Because when your character grows, your impact grows. Learn more at charactermatterscoaching.com. In today's episode, we are sitting down with Matt Mills to discover his secret sauce of coaching and leadership. We're going to get into his story. We think you really will want to pay attention and hear. I think it's kind of very unique in Matt's role in his current company. We'll let him tell you. So I'm sure you will want to stick around. So Dave, good afternoon. How is everything going?
Everything is fabulous, Matt. I feel like there's not enough Daves on the podcast, though. So just to balance all this out, you can never have enough Daves, is what I've been told. So Matt, welcome to the podcast. We usually like to start off with an energy check-in on a scale from 1 to 10. Where is your energy level?
Yeah. I mean, I'm super excited to be here, but I am coming off a real high energy week, and genuinely I am at a 10. Have a couple of holiday events coming up. And so I love getting into the holiday spirits and being social and connecting with people and really just celebrating a great year. So I'm at a 10 today.
Thank you very much, Matt. And Matt too. Where are you?
Yeah. I'm definitely at a 10. I just drank a large glass of iced tea. I started early and I'm looking forward to this conversation. Yeah. How about you, Dave?
Awesome. I'm at a 9. I feel like I need to step it up. So I'll have some more tea. It's better. Matt, when you are on, going to your next event, planes, trains, automobiles, and somebody turns to you and says, "Hi, Matt, what do you do?" After they admire your very nice sunglasses, what do you say?
Yeah, so these days I very proudly and confidently will say that I'm a coach. I'm a leadership coach, and I think coaches go through a long journey of struggling with how to introduce themselves. And you'll also have some coaches and some people say, well, I don't know. They think about it a lot. So I am a leadership coach. I've been coaching professionally for over 10 years now. And currently where my role sits is I'm an internal coach. I had my own practice and coaching work for a number of years, and a couple of years ago moved in-house with a really amazing company called Gooder Sunglasses. And we make affordable sunglasses for anyone. And it's a super fun brand, super fun company. And in that role, I get to have the pleasure of coaching all of our leaders from the C-suite on down. And then I also handle and lead a lot of leadership development initiatives. So that's a long way of probably introducing myself at a party. But I would probably just say I'm a leadership coach and then go from there.
Do most people, when you introduce yourself, know the product?
It's really funny because I'll have anything from people who are unfamiliar with it, and then I get to excitedly tell them about it. And I've been a fan of the brand before I even joined the company because I'm a big runner. I'm very active, and it really was the first pair of sunglasses that I bought as a runner that did not slip off of my head and looked cool. And so I am excited to tell people about it. But then I also get to talk with people who know the brand, love the brand, and sometimes they start to talk about it almost like they work at the company and they're better salesmen than I am. So it is super fun. We like to say we put smiles on people's faces, and that's exactly the joy of working for a brand and a company like Gooder.
Yeah. My wife is that. I think she would sell your product to whomever that would need it anywhere.
Yeah.
Matt, maybe you can share with our audience a little bit around, okay, so you have your own company for several years. Oh, what did you think about when you were asked to go internal? How did that work?
It's really interesting. I like to joke, in part of my coaching journey is, I did support people in their career paths, and I did some career and job coaching. And I joke and I say, I'm the last person you should probably ask for job advice right now, because I really threw my hat in the ring on a whim because I knew the brands, and the role was focused on a lot of the work that I'm just excited about, have been passionate about for many years, and doing that. So it, moving from there, number one, was unexpected, moving from having my own coaching practice to moving internally. But I really saw it as an opportunity to have an impact, bring my coaching wisdom and knowledge, and just kind of have fun with it. I think, and we can talk about this, but internal coaching, I think, is going to be growing a lot over the next number of years. I think it's definitely where coaching is headed. Is a lot of companies now are putting more time and attention to internal coaching. So for me, it was just a really exciting opportunity to have an impact, help to grow and build a coaching culture, also supports leadership. I really believe that companies are going to succeed when they have really well-equipped and skilled and caring leaders. So it just was an opportunity for me to just explore that and take a lot of my coaching experience and have a new challenge and opportunity, which is something that I'm always pursuing, whether it's in my personal life or professional as well. So it was different, but it's been very rewarding and fun.
A lot of our listeners want to be an internal coach because they think that is going to solve all of their client getting needs. They don't have to hustle, the grind, whatever it is. And there is at least some perceived security to them. What did you find when you went internally that was like, some of this is good and some of it, I guess I don't have to do that anymore.
Right. And I think you speak to it right there. I will be totally honest. The thing that felt the most exciting was that there really was an ability to just focus on coaching and focusing on the work. I am in a very fortunate situation where when I came in, there was nothing established within the organization. So it really was a playground for me to be able to bring coaching and really skilled professional coaching, not what some organizations might think coaching is, and be able to build and bring that in. So really the opportunity to just focus on that and be able to put aside some of the client getting and marketing was nice. However, I think even working internally, I still feel drawn to be able to share wisdom and have as wide of an impact as possible. So I'm still posting on LinkedIn. I still love to share insights and knowledge and wisdom that I'm learning on the job, out in the world. So that doesn't stop, but it just now comes from a place more of I get to than I have to. So that I think has been the biggest shift. That's been fun.
Yeah. So we'll just ask this question because so we won't delay asking. I think some of our other guests are winning and answering the question. Matt, what is your secret sauce, and when did you know?
So, I think for my secret sauce, there's a couple of components. One I probably discovered earlier on in my work, and then one really came to me as I started to work internally. And earlier on, I think my secret sauce when I discovered that was just having an impactful presence with people. I'm really curious about people and who they are. I am very fascinated by them. And I think some of the secret sauce is really just having that presence and being someone that is approachable, someone that people can open up to. And, I think sometimes people can take that for granted. And what I mean is for the people who, like coaches who are very people forward and caring and supportive of others, they can think that that is easy, or they can not understand how valuable that is for other people. And so I've had moments when I've recognized that I'm like, oh, what I bring is not something that comes easy or natural to other people. And I think that's true with any strengths. And then I think another element of my secret sauce is also just over the number of years from my coaching developments is just sharing wisdom about coaching and helping leaders become really good, strong coaches. That's something that I'm just super passionate about now in my work. It's now one of my driving missions. And I think that was something where I had all of this wisdom that I was accumulating over a number of years. And so that now has become a secret sauce where it's not only just providing coaching to individuals, but also helping them become more coach-like in their work. And so that makes them more impactful as leaders and as coaches.
Maybe you can share one of the things, like just some of your own maturity, say at your current company, like when you started to especially sort of give us maybe a little insight around what do you feel like you can say, or what did you feel like you couldn't say at the beginning, and now you feel like, hey, because I think, one, some of your posts on LinkedIn really kind of give you a little bit of an insight when you're working with a leader at the company. But how has that changed just over time? Because I think that's always interesting when you have, sometimes external coaches will go in and they'll only be there for a time. They're like, okay, I've got a 6 month or even 9 months really to help a leader sort of get back on track. But you're going to be there and you're at that senior level. How does that maturity or evolution look like?
It's a great question. It is different than if you were to be an external coach who was contracted to come in and work with an organization. It's incredibly rewarding and challenging at the same time. And I'll share a little bit about why I feel it's both of those things. It's rewarding because I get to really have a deep connection with the people I'm coaching. And I know that sometimes that can feel a little counterintuitive for, coaches who it's like, we are supposed to be very objective and, we're there to be able to be a mirror and help bring out the genius and wisdom from our clients. And that is all definitely the lens through which I do a lot of my work. But at the same time, I'm able to really understand all of the leaders that I am fortunate enough to coach on a deeper level. And so it actually helps to build rapport, a level of trust that I think is cannot be overvalued. So that has been one of the different things. But on the other side, it can be a challenge because I just have to be very conscious and aware and make sure that I really am working hard to show up as a professional coach and am, under the ethics of my training, and also just making sure that I am not breaking that, and it's all just in service of the growth of the leaders. So I just always have to remind myself that there are boundaries that are there, but also at the same time, forming those relationships and building that rapport and trust has, from what I've seen and from what I've felt and also been acknowledged from my peers, is that is something that really actually is very valuable.
Okay, so someone shadowed you for a week, right? And you're doing coaching and development and team or an individual. Where would they see your secret sauce most, or how would they see it?
Yeah. I think also connecting to what I was just sharing before, I think one of the benefits is there's a lot of moments for in the moment coaching. So where they would probably see my secret sauce in action is I work, so the way that our work is structured is I'm in office 2 days a week, and so is everyone else at the company. And what that gives an opportunity for me to do is really go up and approach any leader at any given time and just simply ask, how are you doing? I don't think that leaders get enough of that. And that has opened up so many opportunities for just unexpected coaching and growth. And it might lead to somebody signing up for a coaching engagement or joining one of our leadership peer circles. So it's almost, I see it all as opportunity. And I think that that's where my secret sauce of just being that presence, being that resource for people, that for leaders, especially, that they very rarely have. And so that's probably where people would see that show up the most, is just being able to have those moments where I get to walk around and just simply connect with another leader in the moment.
Yeah. You need to talk to Matt.
I hear that a lot.
You need to go talk to Matt.
I hear that a lot. Yes.
It's music to my ears.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you see leadership changing, and what do you see in terms of like what leaders need? How do coaches stay relevant to that? Like, what's changing with leadership?
So there's a lot of changes with leadership. I think, we're in a time where obviously with AI and also just a lot of uncertainty that leaders are feeling, that has always been, I think, a challenge for leaders. But I think what's also changing is now a shift in what's expected for leaders in terms of for people leadership. And I think it's becoming much more important than ever, even with AI. So I know that it feels like there needs to be more of a technical expertise for a lot of these things that are coming aboard. But what I see is that there's going to be more of an emphasis, like people aren't going away. So there needs to be more of an emphasis for leaders to be able to know how to connect, how to be able to be that support for their team. So I think that that's number one. And then I think just there needs to be a grounding in that, like, you don't make it more complex than it needs to be. I think leaders can tend to feel that if it's not complex, if it's something that's simple, then maybe that's not the right way. They might default to thinking like, all right, how do we make this even more complex? It's almost kind of a way of like proving their value. And I really do have this philosophy that I think leadership can be simple, not easy, but it can be a much more simpler than leaders can make it out to be. And so I think there's going to be much more of an emphasis in training leaders, not outsourcing it to other coaches or learning and developments, but really for leaders to have those tools and those skills to connect and relate with other people on their team, other leaders that they're dealing with. That is where I think that leadership needs to grow and evolve, but also has been evolving over the number of years. So it's interesting.
So I just had a question with just how leadership changes. So if you think about like your best leader that you work with, or like the one that you're like, man, this person and we really sort of see, just like we get each other.
Mm-hmm.
What do they, I mean, at some point in time, they're like, well, Matt, it's great to talk to you. Do they need you more or less?
If we've really connected, and there's a lot of leaders that I am so fortunate to get to work with who I feel that connection with. I'm also somebody that I would probably say that I could find a way to connect with most people, but the people that you're referring to that I feel like, I have the highest amount of respect with that. No, I think actually those leaders are the ones that rely on me a little bit more as a confidant, because I have taken the time to build that trust. And I think that that's where a leadership coach or an executive coach, that's always the role, especially when you're working with corporate executives, is you are there to be a resource that they cannot have anywhere else. And that might be that they need to say things to somebody that they cannot share with anyone else, even other leaders or colleagues that they might have a high level of trust with. So I've built trust, so I don't break their trust or confidence. I really hold myself to a high standard. It's like, what you share with me will stay there. And so I think that when they know that they have that resource, they'll come to me probably more often. They're the ones that are either saying, go talk to Matt, or they're like, I need to get on your calendar next week.
Yeah. You know what? I think as a coach, you would kind of think that it would just be the opposite. Like, oh yeah, they need me less, but they may be more wise in utilizing you as a coach.
Well, and they also know, and this is my style, is I challenge them. And if there's something where it's like, you don't need me to figure this out, you know it, I will tell them that. So it's not that they become reliant. It's because they just know also my style and approach is that I'm not going to let them off the hook. And the thing is, a lot of leaders are high performers, and they really do want that. They really don't like it when somebody is giving them stereo instructions or telling them what to do. They want to be able to flex those critical muscles and critical thinking muscles. And so, and again, this is what I would like to think, is that they know I'm going to call them out and challenge them, and be more of that thought partner. I take that part of my coaching work very seriously. And that was sort of a switch and an insight as I grew along my coaching, is that really I'm there to help be a collaborator and thought partner. And so that's, I think, where they rely on me. So, if I was much more pleasing and was telling them, oh yeah, no, you're right, you're doing all of that, I actually think they would probably see me, like, want to connect with me less, because that's just not effective coaching.
Yeah. They've got 5 direct reports that'll tell them what they want to hear.
Exactly. and that's the other thing, I knew this even in my work before, was, part of a coach's role is that they are, especially very top high level leaders, is that they are surrounded by people who are going to tell them what they want to hear, or they're not going to tell them the truth. And so I just make sure that that's something that I contract with them up front and share with them and say, hey, this is where I can be the best benefit, is to help reflect things that somebody might not share with you or be upfront and honest to tell you. And they appreciate that. But I make sure that they're aware that that's what how I'm going to help to coach them. So I don't spring that up on them after I've been taking 5 months of just being like, everything you're doing is great and amazing.
I was just going to ask if you have a bold belief about leadership or coaching that not everyone agrees with, because you've been on both sides, internal and external. Do you have anything that beyond what you've shared?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing is, as I shared, I think leadership, people make it more complicated than it needs to be. And they need to take the time to kind of clear the decks a little bit, and that's where coaching can help. And then I think people need to just be honest. And from a coaching perspective, I think I don't mean honesty. Like you do have to have that level of trust and contract with them, and to do it in a way where it's going to serve them. But I think for coaches, I think like be honest, not directive. It's different, but showing them there's an observation. It's a disservice to them if I'm holding it in, if they're sharing something with me and I'm just holding up a mirror, I'm just reflecting it to them and showing them what they see. So I think that from a coaching perspective, just honesty is something that I think is really important for coaches to lean into. And then also leaders as well. I think leaders can sometimes, when they get into a mode where they're talking around people or around the problem and not just going at it, I think that that's something that is really important for leaders and coaches to practice.
Yeah. So Matt, if you're looking for your own ideal coach, what are you looking for? What do you want from a coach?
Yeah, and I work with coaches constantly. I always have a coach, so I feel like I'd be doing myself a disservice and then my own coaching growth. I think there were a few things that I thought of here. So I talked about honesty. I think that that's huge. I want someone, again, not to tell me what to do, but to just, if they're seeing something, share it with me. I also think genuine caring. So we talk a lot about radical candor, the care personally and challenge directly. And so that comes from the genuine caring about somebody. And then growth mindset. And finally, this is something that I've actually really looked for whenever I've looked for a coach, is do they have a sense of humor? I like to keep things light, call it out as it is, kind of show my personality with that. And it's funny, I'm working with a mentor coach as I'm on the process towards my MCC. And, what resonated with me with him was he was just like, I like to have fun and I don't take this so seriously, but he is a very accomplished coach. And I wouldn't be working with him if he didn't have that experience or expertise. But when he said, I have a sense of humor and it comes out in my coaching, I was like, that I want to work with you.
What do you think of that, Dave?
I like it. I think, humor is really important in my life. And it's like basically gotten me through many years of organizational life. So I definitely see the value in it.
I think without it, I think it's it can be really somber if it wasn't, if you didn't go, well, there's probably a lighter side to this, or how can we look at it from a lighter?
Yeah, I've said that, sometimes I say this more to myself, but sometimes I just kind of think, I'm like, everything we're doing is silly. And what I mean by that is sometimes we take things too seriously that we don't need to. I will just caveat with the sense of humor is there, that is a tool and you have to know when to balance it. So I find that one of my strengths is being able to know the moments and be able to know, okay, no, this is time when we have to think of this seriously. So there is a lot of reading the room that happens with that and knowing who you're working with. But it is important. And when it's like, hey, we're taking this too seriously, call it out.
Yeah. Matt, what's beyond sort of books or maybe even some books, what would you recommend for someone that's they just got their training, they're trying to get in their hours? What's their go-to like book or resource or podcast that you recommend?
Well, and you mean for like a newer coach that's coming up in the world?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or even any leader, like even if you've got something you're like, this is my go-to resource for leaders.
So a couple of books, and then I'll share a couple of book and podcast thoughts. For books, I think I'm a big follower of Steve Chandler, and so I love his writing and his approach to really just connecting with people. And so I do think The Prosperous Coach is a must read. It's Rich Litvin and Steve Chandler, and any of Steve Chandler's books. I think Reinventing Yourself is a core work as well. And then another one that I revisit often is The War of Art. Really that idea of resistance. I feel like I was talking about that even this week. So that always often comes up. And then a couple of other things that's just, I think from my experience have been really impactful is, I mentioned I'm a big runner and I'm very active. And I honestly think like self-care and just exercise, running is when I do my best thinking. So having that time, it's very therapeutic in a way. And keeps me grounded. And I think that that's important for all leaders and all coaches as well, is just stay active and have, whether it's going for a walk, going for a run, whatever that might be. And then the last thing that I'll mention that I think just for all periods of my career has been huge, and actually on a professional level, I'm seeing the impact, is mentorship, networking, and being part of a peer group. I think that's where I would be specific. I think it is right now part of what I do in my role is where I found such impact is bringing small groups of leaders together. And sometimes that can actually be more powerful than a one-on-one coaching conversation, because when they hear that there are other people feeling those challenges that they're feeling, it is just, that might be all that they need in order to feel more confident or understand a challenge that their situation is, just knowing someone else is experiencing what I'm experiencing. But I also think just connecting with other people in your field, for many, many reasons. I am always reaching out to people who I just find fascinating. And a lot of times it's coaches. I've been connecting with a lot of internal coaches, and to be real, I'm an introvert. So, but I mean that in more of how my energy shows up, but I love connecting with those people. And so I do think for leaders, you do want to make sure that you are connecting with your other peers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think our last guest, who hasn't been published yet, he talked about finding other people to almost like, well, he used the word confess, which is super fascinating.
Yeah,
like he was like, "Hey, look, it was at that level." He's like, "I think this is just instrumental." He's been doing it a long time, and he's like, "I just find that to be, it's almost like." Yeah, his version of therapy, which would be like finding other people. And I've even seen breakthroughs happen with leaders when I've done that. It's sort of like a mentoring. I'm doing a mentoring triad coaching.
Yeah.
That other leader can say something that I could never say as the coach.
That's right. No, and it's honestly, I like I said, I love being that thought partner. But when I'm in these group circles, I just set the stage and I then pull back, and the magic happens. Of course, I'll facilitate and insert myself when it's necessary, and introduce all of those or bring in all of those coaching skills with it. But I think also, just for coaches who are on their journey, whatever that may be, one thing I love about coaching, the coaching world and coaching profession, is that it is highly competitive, but I've never felt that within the community. When I come together with other coaches, it is nothing but supportive and understanding that we are all on our different paths. And so I've really loved that. I've worked in competitive industries before where it does feel like everyone's out to get each other. And so I do think for leaders, but also for coaches, finds that community. I still have groups that I connect with, whether it's on a monthly basis or on a more frequent basis. So it's so helpful.
Yeah. Dave, what's your reflection for Matt?
Yeah, I love the positive energy and movement that Matt brings into the room. I think there's something to be said for like loving the brand that you're working with as well. And I think as Matt said earlier, there's so much space for like internal coaches to be a consistent force for, positive leadership inside organizations. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us today.
Yeah. And so Matt, when I met you and you talked about your situation, your current work at Engage in San Diego, or Converge, sorry, not Engage, Converge, wrong word. But you know what, you come across as very humble and grateful as a person. And I think that's really, to me, what I find so fascinating about your story is that I see what you're working, the brand that you're working for, as like still on the way up. And to me, just from a curiosity perspective, or just like a fascinated fan also, like I can't wait to see what happens. But it's, Dave and I knew somebody that was in a similar situation in another company, and it's not gone well. They end up severing with that person. But that seemed to be one of the things that really was missing, some of just the humility and the gratitude for how it was happening. And it was skyrocketed. This is a COVID type of company. But I really just get that sense, Matt, that you're truly grateful to do what you're doing, and it shows. So thank you for sharing that. So
yeah, thank you both.
Matt, what's the best way for someone to get a hold of you? How would you?
Yeah, right now, I've really been trying to be more active and sharing, like I said, my thought and wisdom on LinkedIn. So you can find me at Matt Mills, or Matt C. Mills is the handle. And I try to be as active as I can, but I love also seeing what people are sharing. I think LinkedIn is a really great platform right now, especially for coaches, to use that to grow their thought leadership. So they can find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, great. Yes. Dave, what else?
Shout out to our sponsor. Do you ever feel like you're working hard but not making the impact you want? At Character Matters Coaching and Consulting, we help leaders and organizations move from stuck to unstoppable through one-on-one coaching and team consulting. We don't just work on skills, we work on the leader behind the skills. Visit charactermatterscoaching.com and get in touch with Matt for your organization.
Matt, thank you so much for spending the time with us. We hope you enjoyed the discussion that we had today with Matt, and there will be more. And this is, I think, one of our last episodes of this season. So we'll actually have a chance to wrap it up and talk some more just about what we heard through season 4. So until next time. Thanks for listening. If you love this podcast, please share it with another coach or leader. Make sure you go to the show notes to get all the resources from today's episode.